Afternoon or good morning wherever you may be. I'm Stan Goldstein with Kate Spoilston Publications. Thank you for joining us and welcome to the webinar, Funeral for Financing in 2020, How to Continue Offering Families the Services They Need, presented by LendingUSA. Today we're happy to be joined by Elaine Valdez, Funeral Engagement Manager, and Janine Carreno, Funeral Relationship Manager of LendingUSA. They will discuss how your funeral home can stand out among the competition by offering financial options that can be tailored to the needs of each individual family who are often not prepared for loss. Please submit your questions as you have them, and Elaine and Janine will answer them at the end of the webinar. Elaine and Janine, please take it away.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are very, very excited to be able to do a presentation for everyone and hopefully answer some great questions at the very end of the webinar. Again, my name is Elaine Valdez, and I am joined by Janine Carreno. We are a team here at LendingUSA dedicated to our funeral industry professionals. A little bit about us and our background. I also come from the profession. I served my community for over 14 years and a location out here in Los Angeles, California. I was lucky enough to work for one of the largest privately owned firms here in California for my whole career. We had 3 funeral homes, 2 cemeteries, and a crematory, and I was lucky to be able to assist both at-need and pre-need families through my career there. So very well-rounded and understand the needs that funeral directors face today when it comes to serving their families and also the business side of everything. Janine, give them a little bit about your background.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for, joining in today. So a little bit about myself. I'm one of the funeral relationship managers here at LendingUSA, and I too came from the profession of over 10 years at a combo location. There we assisted about over 2,000 families a year, so it was definitely a high volume location and very much high pace. There I got to serve both at-need and pre-need families for both sides, which were funeral and cemetery, of course, and where I come from, we were big on sales. We had quotas to meet every single month. And there I was able to help families make final arrangements. We sold and processed funeral and cemetery contracts. We prepped the chapel for services, designed memorial, and the list goes on.
I like to call us jacks of all trades, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, so I'm very excited to be a part of this today. So thank you all.
So we're going to just go ahead and jump right into the webinar. So who are we as a company?
Mhm. All right, so who we are. So we are the #1 funeral financing solution for funeral homes. Our goal is to provide financing for important moments in life, and we are exclusively endorsed by the National Funeral Directors Association, plus 12 state associations as you see listed below. We are currently partnered with over 3,200 funeral homes across the US.
And just to kind of add on to that, when Janine and I first came aboard to LendingUSA, we had a much smaller network. And with us being able to connect and just show the need of what our platform is able to offer the business, we've grown tremendously over the last few years. So we're hoping that you guys see the value in our partnership with us because what we have is what everyone's needing nowadays.
Yeah, definitely.
So why we're here, our goal is to be able to give you a tool that will help enhance your services. We want to help families with the payment option, which is something new for our profession. I know pre-need is very big for us, but at-need financing is something very new. So we're going to just be able to touch on the points on how to use it at your location. And of course, the end goal is we want to reduce any accounts receivables that you may be typically dealing with today when you're helping your community by with your big heart fronting services, allowing them to pay you maybe over time or discounting down. We want to help you guys secure your payment.
Mm-hmm.
So currently, what is trending in the funeral industry? I feel like we see a lot of different topics online, and everyone does their best with trying to keep up with what are the needs of families today? What are we seeing more of? And I think with the funeral industry, we're seeing, of course, cremation versus burial, right? That's a huge deal, cremation versus burial. And we see also crowdfunding and donations, right? I mean, I think, Janine, that was something that we got to see toward the end of our career before joining Lending USA, right? A lot of families
Yeah,
were relying on what GoFundMe accounts or
yeah,
car washes. And, we come from, again, very high volume locations, and we
yes,
sat across families and we've seen that, their needs just changed over
hmm,
the years.
yeah,
And when with the trend of cremation versus burial, I come from a private setting background, and that was something that we had to really learn to adjust to because
yeah,
we came from, full traditional burial service to now families just wanting direct cremation.
information.
So the
Mhm.
margins were very different. And so we had to learn how to keep the business healthy, keep the cash flow coming in, still be able to bring in revenue with the cremation service. So I mean, if I would have had an option like this to be able to present to people, I feel like this would have helped us so much, so much
Yeah,
quicker. So, um,
definitely.
right. And then again, crowdfunding, you see people relying on that nowadays. So it's just interesting to see all these things changing. So funeral financing trends, why? So I always get kind of blown away by the stats that we're able to share, right, with our partners. And I always make sure that we share these stats because it's also very eye-opening because when it comes to people's finances, it's a very private, thing to speak of. And when you're helping a family make arrangements, imagine being in a room full of family members and a lot of them don't know what each other's finances are looking like, right? But just to know that 40% of Americans don't have $400 in the bank for an emergency. So that's
Yeah,
huge, right? 4 out of 10 people in a
yeah,
room don't have $400 saved for something that's going to may go wrong that they weren't expecting, right? And today a service for a full burial is looking close to almost $9,000. So you
hmm,
can see why those things are changing, right? People
yeah,
going to cremation because they think it's just a less expensive option, and relying on GoFundMe accounts and things like that. So
yeah.
you can see the trends and the reasons behind them.
Okay, so why offer financing? So companies that implemented an online point of self-financing option saw 32% increase in sales. So that's what we want. 76% of consumers are more likely to make a purchase if there's a simple and easy payment plan that's offered, and average increase in order value of 75% for companies that offer point of self-financing. So folks, Lending USA can be a sales tool for you and a resource for the families. So our goal is to be able to help families in having the services that they would like for their loved one and help them the homes increase their revenue, right? So think of it like this: when you have a family that walks in to purchase pre-arrangements, they go in there, they select the items that they like and aren't too concerned over the amount. Right. Well, with Lending USA, that's exactly what we want for the families, is to be able to go in there and pick and choose the items they would like and not be too overly concerned over the expenses.
And just to kind of add on to that, I know that both of us were able to help families on the pre-need side, right? And
Yes,
if you are in a location where you have that option where you're assisting both at need and pre-need, the emotions are so different, right? And the reason I think for
definitely.
pre-need is because, like you said, you can show them all the options available. They
Yeah.
pick what they really want, and then once you're able to show them that affordable monthly payment,
Mhm.
it's less of a, I don't want to say sticker shock, but it's more of like, okay, you know what, I can afford that. So
Yeah, like we can do
that's the
this. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and it's something that, like we said, we've been able to help our partners increase revenue because if a family comes in expecting to only have the budget for a direct cremation or the
Hmm.
minimum service, they're
Right.
not going to spend more if they don't have that flexibility. And
Right.
the goal is you're killing two birds with one stone. You're again helping to increase revenue in your funeral home, especially if you're dealing with that big change of traditional burials aren't as common anymore. And now you're getting nothing but cremation. You got to think of a way, okay, how can I help increase?
Right.
And you have a community to serve, right? You have a staff to take care of. You need the revenue coming in to be able to keep your business healthy. So this is the tool.
Yep. Okay, so why offer financing? Let's see here. So 58% of Americans have less than $1,000 in their savings. That's more than half.
Mm.
And 32% have nothing in their savings. Folks, look at what's going on, what's going on right now with, the whole coronavirus, this whole pandemic. It's so heartbreaking to see so many families struggling right now, and there's so much uncertainty, and we don't know what's next, right? And there's so many that we hear and we see, that are having a very difficult time, trying to get through these trying times and don't have much saved. So
Yeah,
that goes to uh-huh.
I was just going to say, just to kind of touch on that as well as,
Yeah.
I think was it a couple weeks ago, I spoke to one of our
Mhm.
partners out in Florida, and,
Yeah.
they were heavily hit with families who were either furloughed or laid off. And I think out of the 7 families that met with that week, 5 of them had asked, do you have a monthly payment option available? Because
Yeah.
something like the pandemic that we're dealing with right now, the scariest part of it is that it felt like it came out of nowhere, right? It gave
Yeah.
nobody any time. And again, you're never as prepared as you should be, right? But
Yeah.
especially when it comes to something financial. So imagine,
Absolutely.
being one of these stats, 58% of an Americans who doesn't have $1,000 saved, 32% have zero, and then you're hit with having to plan, for someone who's passed away, and you're the legal
Right.
next of kin, you're responsible, and that's heartbreaking, and that's really scary.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you for that. And so this just simply goes to show us that we're going to continue to serve families that may struggle to come up with payment. And if you think about it, everyone offers financing. So you want to be able to purchase a laptop or home essentials like fridge or a stove, or you want to remodel your house, or you're planning a big old wedding. All of that, all those things have the option of being financed. So it's overwhelming to see funeral homes not offer financing when just about everything else can be, right? So
Exactly. Even
I
like you
know.
said, if you like a laptop, like the other day I went on just Walmart.com and I was looking for a small laptop for my daughter for school, and
Mhm.
it was a little button popped up and it said, check out today for it was like $20 a month, and I thought,
Yeah,
wait, what is this? And it was a financing option. So it's just
yeah,
so interesting to see that every form of big purchase over a couple $100 has a monthly payment option, but like we've seen in our careers, we're expecting families to pay a huge amount in just a few days, right? And
exactly.
and
Hmm.
like you said, our professionals, we're serving a different generation now. The older generation, they had savings, they had life insurance, they did that pre-need, but nowadays it's just different. People aren't as
Exactly,
prepared as they would like to be.
exactly. Okay. And then let's see here. Okay, here we go. So why we're preferred by funeral homes. So we are a custom tailored solution for your location. Collections, and we all know it can be very difficult to chase after. And
Mhm.
dealing with the families that are dealing with local banks or credit unions can take too long. Whereas Lending USA just simply wants to get you paid.
And just to kind of mention, like how we're going to cover it in a couple slides down the road,
Hmm.
but we literally are a custom tailored solution. We have so many options available on how you can use our platform as a resource for the business,
Yes.
right? Because we're considered a fintech company, right? So anything with computers, technology could be a little scary.
Yeah.
I know our industry is very old school. We still use paper and pencils and have filing cabinets for all of our files, but
And
our full
typewriters.
process, yeah, we even have fax machines. So to kind of add a side note, this just shows you how old I am. When I started in the funeral industry, I had to use a typewriter for death certificates. Oh, and God forbid I made a mistake. It was horrible. I had to start over.
Happened
but
to me too.
yeah, but technology is here to help you. It's a resource, and you're gonna see how easy it is to be able to adopt an option like ours into your
Yeah.
process.
Okay. What is funeral financing? So, folks, at this time, this is where I like to ask a few questions. So, very first thing is, has anyone here ever served a family who suffered an unexpected loss? I
Yeah.
think just about everyone on the call, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, has anyone here ever helped a family who was having a difficult time coming up with funds? So they started a GoFundMe page, car washes, or just done anything to try to come up with the funds. I think just about everyone as well. And then, how many of you have had a family that asked if you accepted payments? I'm sure there's been a few. I know I've been asked.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know that
Uh-huh.
every year Mike and I would do the presentation at the NFDA convention, right? So Mike
Hmm.
Test, our president, and this last presentation, I did it kind of as a visual, right? Because we had a room full of people. And again, I asked them a few of these key questions because no matter what question you're looking at on the list right now, it's something that no matter where you're located, no matter how big or small your funeral or home or cemetery is, it's going to be a scenario that you've come across. So I
Right.
asked, for a visual, by a show of hands, how many of you have, and I asked these three of these questions, and everybody raised their hand. And I just remember that it was very, very impactful to see everyone kind of looking around the room like, wow, this is something that all of us can relate on, right? So just to add on how we can relate to having this as a tool.
Yeah. And then, so going back to the question, what is funeral financing? It's just another payment option that can be offered to any family. So whether the family that you're serving has a life insurance policy and maybe like they would like to file that claim on their own, or maybe there's a family that doesn't want to use up their life savings. This can be an option for anyone. Okay. All right, so what we deal with today. So we come across pre-need quite often, right? So at times we come across families that, have pre-arrangements, and we all, if not most, have come across at one point or another a family that assumed the pre-need their loved one had covered everything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they weren't going to pay a penny out of pocket. Well, I
Mhm.
remember one of the last families that, I got to serve. It was two brothers. They walked in, with mom's contract, thinking that everything was paid for. And I pulled the records, and guess what?
Oh no.
Mom only purchased the space, nothing else. No funeral
Oh
services, no
no.
cemetery services, and scenarios like that came up very often.
Or
And then,
I would hate when you'd have to call in to put the claim and there was only like $100 in there,
oh,
because
that
they
was
stopped
the
making
worst.
the payment. So you're like, oh, and then you become the bad guy because you're going to them saying sorry.
I know. And then there were so many families that, they thought they had a preneed that was in effect. And, after
Mhm.
looking into it, like you said, they had little to nothing. Sometimes it would, it was canceled. Family would, it would lapse, and, the
Mhm.
family wasn't made aware, and then they had nothing. So that came up too many times. And then
Yeah.
another another thing that comes up is insurance, right? We come across
Mhm.
insurance a lot, and there's a lot of third-party processing fees with that. There's a lot of paperwork involved, tons of that, and
Mhm.
there's long hold times. You can't get a hold of somebody, or they're closed, and you got to call back the next day.
Or even like with insurance, I think one of the most devastating things that I would come across, and I would feel so bad because there's so many families that are relying on an insurance
Right.
to be able to take care of this, right? So they'd come in and it would end up being like a group policy through the employer. So it
Mm,
wasn't assignable.
right.
Or in a case where the death certificate ends up becoming deferred. So now it's like,
Ah,
oh my gosh, they're not going to be able to file this claim. We're not going to be
exactly.
guaranteed our funds because now we have to wait for the death to be recorded and see what comes back. So it's devastating when you have a family relying on insurance, which is a very, very common form of payment in the space. Pre-need insurance, and sorry to butt in there, but
Yeah.
that was
No,
just
no,
something I wanted to highlight.
That's great. Thank you so much for bringing that up. But another thing that I wanted to mention was credit cards. So
Mhm.
with credit cards, there's transaction fees, declines, transaction limits, and also when it comes to credit cards, it's so easy for us to just take the card, run it, and move on, right?
Mhm.
But we don't think that it can, greatly hurt the family, and even at times leave them with little to nothing to help them stay afloat after the services. So here's something that I would love to share with you all. And this is not something that's really taught, until
Yeah,
either
you're
it's
right.
too late or you're going through it, right? So anytime a family maxes out their credit card, they're using 100% of their available credit. And credit utilization is a major factor in your credit score. So it can be devastating, and it's not uncommon for a maxed out card to drop a
Mhm.
credit score by up to 45 points. Can you believe
Mhm.
that? 45 points. Whereas, go ahead.
No, no, I was just going to say, and how many times have you had a scenario where you have a family in a room and you're getting, multiple credit cards because they don't have the full available amount to be able to pay with one swipe, right?
All
And
the
that's something that I'll be very honest, it was something that I really wasn't aware of. I was never taught what debt to income ratio meant or what's healthy credit was till later in life. And I never realized that if you max out your credit card, it's going to drop your credit score. And even just recently, again, with dealing with the pandemic, I had another partner of ours tell us, I had a family tell me, I have credit cards, I have available credit, but I just can't max them out right now. Like I'm going to need to rely on that for other things right now because it's so much uncertainty going on right now with careers and different employers. They need to be able to live off of the credit. And that's the kind of generation we're serving, the families that are living off credit. So, having an option like us keeps them, having their credit card options available.
Yes, perfect. All right. So funeral financing is beneficial for both families that are financially prepared and unprepared. So for at-need and pre-need families, right? It is a supplement to other sources of funds to have the service the family would like. So Lending USA can be offered to families at the time of need, or for families that are back to purchase a memorial, or maybe family had a pre-need turned at need and now have a balance. So it can be used for situations like that. It's a fast application and approval process. Everything is done online from A to Z. So there's no printing of any kind, no faxing, no claim forms. We don't need a copy of the death certificate. It's all very user friendly. And then it's fast funding directly to your business in just a few days. Okay. And then last is, go ahead, Elaine.
Oh, no, no, I was just going to say I think that's part of the beauty of it. Once we're able to, have a partner onboarded with us and we kind of run through, training and they see, wait, that's it. That's
Yeah.
how fast it is. You have a quick application a family fills out, you get a decision in seconds. We have a team here even to help explain the terms and give the family the monthly payment options. And once a family electronically signs, that's it. You're all done. There's nothing that we need from you. We don't need claim forms. We don't need, again, the death certificate, like you mentioned.
Mhm.
And then it guarantees payment to the business, direct deposit.
Right, right. Yeah, and then families will have a low monthly payment to help pay for their funeral expenses.
Mhm.
Our loan amounts start off at a minimum of $1,000, and then we will always offer two payment plans for every single applicant. So there's always going to be a 36 or a 60-month payment plan that they're going to be able to select from.
And I think a big part too is that promo period. We offer a promotional period for every family, so which is that 6-month promo. And that is a huge deal for so many families because it's again buying them some time. How many times have you seen a family who just needed a couple weeks to figure things out, right? Or get through just
Mhm.
just get through the service, and then deal with family and estates and all that after the fact. And it happens too common.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Let's see here. All right. So better for families. So Letting USA will help increase families' buying power to get the type of services they would like for their loved one. So it either works alone, or if the family has any donations and they want to finance the rest with us, they can do something like that. Multiple family members can also apply to increase funding power and approval rates. So it doesn't have to be the legal next of kin folks or power of attorney that applies. It could be anyone that would like to. Okay. Um,
And
you,
just to kind of add on to that, I know that a lot of the time when you have a big family, everybody works together, and it's something that we've seen very often where, let's say the like again the next of kin applied, but maybe they didn't qualify with us, then
right.
somebody else jumps in to try and help. So we can take as many applications as needed, and also that helps just let the family divide it amongst each other, right? So that's always a big selling point for our partners too, to be able to present to their families. Anyone can help, anybody can apply, and it's just a free check. It won't hurt their credit by trying to see if they qualify with us.
Yeah, yeah. And then you can also help them save money. So these are no collateral loans, so there's no down payment at all. And the families are able to keep cash on hand, to help them either stay afloat, or maybe they want to purchase a pre-need for themselves. Because a lot of the times families think about themselves during during those arrangements.
Mhm.
And then their first payment won't be due for at least 30 days out. And then there's no interest on the principal if paid off within 6 months. So and then you can also help provide a payment option for families who have had a sudden loss or tied up in probate or just need a little
Mhm.
time to pay, as Elaine
Yeah.
was mentioning earlier. So hopefully this helps you all in, giving you ideas on how you can start to implement this resource to alleviate some financial burden from the families.
And I know that there's two sides to this, right? So we're saying, okay, this is why we're better for your families. Now we're going to talk about why are we better for your business? Because that's
Yes.
just as important, right? You need to again keep your business healthy. So let's go into the next slide.
Okay. All right. So better for the funeral home. So it increases services and revenue. So this option allows families to upgrade services, which can potentially increase revenue by thousands. It also eliminates the need to take in-house financing, and it reduces the chances of being undercut on price. So definitely, this platform, it'll help direct families your way from being aware that you have, this option, that you're enrolled with us. So make sure to let any local hospitals, hospice cares, and convalescent homes know that you're now offering financing. So it's very important to, spread the word that you're now partnered with us.
Another part of that is, nowadays everyone is online, right? And everyone does their research. They're looking for options. So with Lending USA, we actually developed a new tool called Merchant Search, where it allows the consumer to go on our site, fill out an application, and then they're given a directory of all of the funeral homes in our network that offer this option. So just recently, remember, Janine, it was Russville Funeral Home, and in Arkansas. They had
Mhm.
a family that had a local funeral home that they had gone to for over 30 years.
Yeah.
And they even had they told me, they said, we even have three family members who have pre-needs there. And
Yeah.
we called them and said, you know what, my aunt passed away. We need a monthly payment option. But that funeral home didn't have funeral financing available. So the family said, you know what, we need some flexibility here. We need to be able to gather things with family and settle the
Mhm.
estate. We don't have the cash on hand right now. So they went looking online and they found one of our partners, and our partner ended up gaining that call. They gained a new family that they can now serve. But it was something that a family was searching for. So being partnered with us can also bring you cases that you weren't even expecting, because
Yeah.
again, the consumers are looking for options and they're going to find what they need. So this is a tool.
Absolutely. So great point. And then low risk. So when a family applies for a loan, the money is paid directly to you, and it's only good for your funeral home. So when a family applies and gets approved, they are essentially locked in at your location, and they can't take that approval and use it anywhere else, which is a great way to capture that family. Um,
That's also a good point for, again, how you mentioned earlier, you can contact a local hospice that you work with, right? And a lot of the time when funeral homes are getting price calls, who are the ones calling? It's a family member trying to help, or a lot of the time it's a hospice nurse, right? Who is just helping the family transition and they don't have anything prepared. So they're trying to get pricing from, the local funeral homes. So
yeah.
if you're able to mention, we do have funeral financing available. They can apply. If they get approved, the approval is good for 30 days and it's assigned to your funeral home. So
Yeah.
that can help you capture, if it's an imminent family, capture that, that comfort of them knowing, you know what, we have a pre-approval sitting with that funeral home, and now you capture that sale. So that's a
Yeah.
big tool as well.
Yeah, definitely. And we also assume the risk of debt and collection. So while you're paid up front and if family lapse on their payments, you don't have to worry. There's no recourse to your home. And this is a question that's brought up very
Yeah,
often,
I
right,
was
Elaine?
just gonna say, I think that's one of the most common questions we get. Like, wait a minute, what happens if they stop paying you? Are you gonna come
Yeah.
after me or charge me back? But that's the beauty of our platform. We don't
Yeah.
charge back on a family who's defaulted. And what I also really appreciate is we don't involve the partner in a scenario like that, where if a family does default and go into collections, you're not notified. We don't tell you, hey, guess what, this person's in. No, it's between us and the family, and we do our best to work with them directly and get everything resolved.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
All right. So how funeral homes use Lending USA. Okay.
So
All
I
right.
think a lot of these are like what our
Okay.
most successful partners do, right? This is what they're doing nowadays.
Yeah. Let's see here. So there are several methods on how a family can apply. One method is the website banner, which is a link.
Mhm.
It's a photo that can be added to your website, and families can click on it, and it'll open up the application so they can they can fill it out. Another method is through our software integration, or yeah, it's through a software
Mhm.
integration with our partnership with Osiris Software, and we'll connect you over to them, and they can easily take care of that for you. Another method is through our text to apply. So this is a great resource, and it's just linked that you can simply text the applicant to their cell phone, and they can complete the rest, from that point on. And another method is to simply direct your families to our general website, which is LendingUSA.com, and the families can search for any funeral home that is partnered with LendingUSA there.
And
So
then yeah, just to kind of mention, like the top one that you mentioned, I think that's probably one of our most popular features, the website banner.
yeah,
And with that, it allows families to also on your website see like, oh, okay, wait a minute, did they have funeral financing available? And this also gives the family the privacy of being able to apply on their own, which could
yes,
be, a big deal, because if you're in a room full of family members, you're not sure what your credit standing is right now. That could be a little bit, nerve wracking. So, having that web banner, you just say you can go to our site and you can apply in private. Or if a family is trying to find your contact number or see your GPL on your website, they're able to see that and then they can apply. And that's a great tool to use.
yeah,
And then the software integration, I love this feature because this is something that you can use during your arrangement conference itself. So we're integrated with the software partner. They collect a few pieces of information from the family, and then they're able to email them a link to be able to apply on their own in private. So very, very useful, very user friendly. And then the last point, the merchant search. That's how I mentioned that one family found one of our partners, because they went online, they saw, okay, you know what, this funeral home is close to us, and it got them a new family that they weren't expecting.
yeah. So there's plenty of methods to make it as easy and convenient as possible for you and the family, and you can determine what method is best for you both at that time.
Yeah, and it just shows you how flexible, again, our platform is. And
Definitely.
the other great thing about almost all of these options is all of these are available 24/7. A website banner, there's no business hours to it.
Yeah.
Having a family go to our site, they can apply any time of day, any day of the week, and also weekends and holidays. That's
Mm.
the beauty of our platform, is it's online, it's flexible, and unfortunately, we know funeral directors never have days off, right? And that's our that's why we built the system the way it is. you know, it wants to work just like you guys. So it's something that you can use anytime to have available for families, which a lot of our partners appreciate.
Hmm. Okay.
So a case study. So I want to say one of our biggest successful partners is Davis Funeral Home, and they're located out in Nevada. And they were one of the partners that we have that just fully implemented us in their process, right? So because of doing that, just again presenting us as a new form of payment, an option to every family walking in their doors, they seen an increase of $72,000 in funded loans within 90 days. They brought in over $150,000 in funded loans after 6 months, and their average service went up to over $8,000. Which again, we're more on the West Coast here with this kind of a partner that where they're located, and again, cremation's huge here, but they were able to bring that price up on the kind of services they were able to help a family obtain. So, it's if you implement it, you use it as a tool like it is, this can really, really help you.
Yeah, definitely.
So how it works, again, families fill out a quick application. We're mobile friendly, so you can do it from a cell phone, an iPad, any desktop, any electronic device. When a family applies, they have a decision in just a few seconds, and it's a soft pull on the credit, so it doesn't harm their credit score, which is a big deal, because that's something, again, I learned later down the line, is you don't realize when you're applying for different forms of financing or credit, it could do what they call a hard pull, and it sticks on your credit. So that could stay on there for years, but ours is a soft pull, free check won't hurt. Family client signs loan documents, and funeral home and business will receive funds within just a few days from us at Lending USA. So quick payment. So presenting to families, I think a big part of adding something new to what I call an already established process could be hard, right? Because as a funeral professional, you already have your pitch down, you already know what you're going to present to your families. You already know how you're going to walk into the room. So here we are asking you, we know you've been doing this for years, but add us to your toolbox. So just make it again a new form of your process, just when you're explaining what forms of payment are available. And if maybe you get a little shy about even discussing financing, all you have to do is give them a brochure or say, hey, if you're interested, go to our website and apply. Just make it as easy as possible, because it is just a new form of payment available to your families. And always remember, families can share the costs. Multiple people can apply, and we have that promotional period. Okay, so that's a big deal. As a promotion, that 6-month window, that gives families so much time to be able to kind of go through everything and then take care of this in full. Okay, let's see. So key takeaways, again, our goal, we want to be able to expand your services. Don't let a family settle for a direct cremation. Don't let your business settle for a direct cremation if this is an option that families want and it's going to allow them to get the service that they really want. And you can offer a low monthly payment option up front to everyone that walks in your door. It's an option available that they want to try and see if they qualify. We want to increase your bottom line, and our platform is a low risk option to your business, which is a big deal. And ease of use and accessibility. This is something that you can, with us by your side, we get you trained, we get you up to speed, and we make sure that you have the support from us that you need as well. So we have a team dedicated to be able to help and just show you how easy this is, and hopefully get you guys going with us. All right, so I think now we're going to go ahead and open it up to some questions. Janine, we'll just wait now for them to come in.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a stand. So thank you,
Hey,
Elaine and
Dan.
Janine. And if anyone has any questions, please type them in and we'll get to you. We have a few already. And you had mentioned, somebody wants to know, you had mentioned about multiple family members can apply. How about friends? If someone's a friend of a family, can they apply too, or do you have to be a family member?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
So we love this, Hajini, because we
Yeah.
we see it all the time. We even get people's employers who help. It could be a friend. It could be anyone in the family, a friend, extended family member. There's no limit to. I know with with funeral service, we have to follow the law, right, on who the next of kin is, who can make arrangements. But as far as who can apply to help pay for services, we don't have any kind of rules against it. Anyone can apply.
Mhm.
And a little bit, we've got a few COVID-19 questions. How has your business been affected by COVID-19? Do you see an increase, more people looking because maybe more people are struggling now with money?
What's funny about that is we actually were wondering, how is this going to affect us? Because, we weren't sure how all of our partners were going to be doing, how they were going to be able to handle all of this. But what we've also seen is partners who had enrolled with us but never really used us or activated fully with us are reaching out now saying, you know what, I need to get up to speed because this is something that I really should have available because families are asking me more and more often for this. So we did see some change in the business, and we've seen more of our partners wanting to fully implement us, right? Janine, did you see that as well?
I did, and I had one of our merchants, one of our partners. I think he was out in Michigan. He brought something up, and I was like, you know what, you're absolutely right. He just basically said, business is picking up, but money is slowing down. So this is a
Yeah,
great
that's a good
option for a lot of families.
And I think Michigan is one of the hotspot areas that's really,
It
really
is.
getting hit hard with COVID-19. And it's something that's also been very heartbreaking for a lot of our relationship managers. We call and we're checking on our partners. How are you doing? Do you need anything from us? And, when we're calling into Louisiana and all these states that are just really affected, they're just so overwhelmed. But they know we're here to support you. And it's definitely, we've been able to keep up with the demand.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. From a funeral home, if someone applies online, is the funeral home notified? If a family goes online, how does the funeral home find out about it?
Yeah, so anytime there's a family that applies online, gets approved, there's an automated email that is sent directly to the funeral home to notify them immediately that there's been a family that's been approved through your site. And at that point, you can log into your portal, you can see all the information of the applicant and reach out to them and schedule that appointment and have them come into the home and, make those final arrangements and, finalize the loan documents. So we definitely notify the funeral home.
And there's also scenarios where, again, where a family uses that tool we have, merchant search, and they call in and say, oh, I just got pre-approved, but I don't know which funeral home I want to use yet. Our reps will walk them through everything and say, okay, well, we have this funeral home. And if we're able to capture that family for you, we would call you directly and let you know, we have a family, they've been approved for this amount and they would like to use your funeral home. Can we get you guys connected? And we definitely try our best to communicate that or give the family the funeral home's information, but we do have those notifications in place.
Yes.
Okay. And another one, if we complete a funeral and the family has an insurance or estate issue that fell through, do they have the option to come back in and do a Lending USA loan application after the service? Is there a time limit when they can do that?
Oh, that's a great point. So it would be what I'm hearing is that they had accepted an insurance, but somewhere down the line it kind of fell through the cracks, right? It just didn't check
Yeah.
out after all. So yeah, that could be an option as well. There's no time frame that a family has to be able to, apply with us. Um, you can refer a family to us anytime. Whenever they do apply, again, you have that 30-day window on when they can finalize the sale with us. So even if they just wanted to check out the option and see the rates available and see the monthly payment, if it's affordable for them, they have that flexibility. But we would love to be able to help in those scenarios.
Yeah, and think it's just another payment option. So just think of it this way: if you can use this for any scenario. So if a family's even back to purchase a memorial, as I mentioned earlier in the webinar, you can offer this platform to those families as well. So it could really be for anything.
Okay. Another question from a funeral home. We currently have two cases where the COVID-19, whoop, hang on, another one just popped in. All right, well, let me do this one. What is the average amount paid per funeral by Lending USA? And then I'll get back to the other one.
So that definitely is kind of, I guess, area specific, right? Because we do have some states that are high with cremation. Then you see the Bible Belt states that are very still, traditional burial. So I don't know. I wouldn't kind of know where to ping it, but I would say average maybe cremation service would be about 3,500, burial maybe about 7,000 or so. But we definitely have that window where they can apply and hopefully we could get them approved for what they're asking for.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, let me go back to the question I was going to ask. We currently have two cases where the COVID-19 issues have made it harder for them to get their estate letter,
Mm.
or estate letter, I'm sorry. I wonder if I can offer them a Lending USA loan since they can't get their estate administrated done.
Wow, that's I didn't even think of a scenario like that. And I'm guessing maybe it was having to do with the death certificate or something didn't register for them right away. But yeah, that would be an option. And again, I would mention that promotional period, that 6-month window, which gosh, it seems like the best amount of time to be able to get someone through, a scenario like that, getting the estate in order. So I would highly recommend offering Lending USA.
Um, I think you would answer this earlier in the webinar, but is there a minimum amount they can apply for?
Yeah. So the minimum is $1,000. So that is the minimum loan amount that anyone can apply for. So it'll be 1,000.
Okay. And what what are the fees to the cemetery for the service, and what are the interest rates for the families? That
So do they mean fees by like business to business fees?
Yeah, it says what are the fees to the cemetery for this service, and what are the interest rates for the families?
So it's with our partnership, we don't charge anything monthly. We don't charge any fees annually. We don't even charge, a business to be able to enroll with us. So that's great. I love that because that's huge. If you want to get set up with a big company, sometimes they charge you upfront fees to even get started, right? But our full process is free. Where any fee would be involved is if you are a partner of ours. We have two different payouts we offer the business. So if you are part of an endorsed state association of that is partnered with the Lending USA, we give you a special rate. We give you an extra 1%. But if you get somebody who falls into tier 3, so we work off of 3 tiers of credit. So tier 1 and 2, you're paid 100% of the total. You have no fees at all. So let's say it's $1,000 funeral. We're paying you $1,000. You're getting the full total, no fees at all. If it's a scenario where the family falls into what they call tier 3, that means they're a higher risk borrower. So they had the lower credit score, there's something on their credit marking a little higher risk that we may not get paid back in full. So in those scenarios, we pay the business 94% or 93%, depending if you're a state association that's endorsed by us, or if you're not a part of an endorsed member, it's the 93%. So 6 or 7% would be the fee to the business. And I when we're onboarding a partner, what we tell them is it's just like a scenario where you're writing off a pre-need underpayment. When it's behind the scenes, it's something that you can't charge the family. So, but that's the only time it would apply. And again, if a family does default fully, you're not hit with the chargeback, are responsible to return those funds back to us. That's the only reason we have that fee in a high-risk borrower scenario.
Okay, and final question. With the COVID-19 pandemic going on, most, if not all, memorial services have been postponed to another date. Could a family then who already paid for a funeral but then wants to do a memorial service through the funeral home and say, "Ooh, we might need a loan for this now," would they be able to do it after the fact type of thing?
That's a great question, and definitely, especially if maybe they had taken care of, the funeral home bill already, but now they want to add on, the memorial. And just like Janine mentioned earlier, a lot of the time the families that come back after the fact are the ones who want to now order the memorial, the marker for the headstone and for the graveside. So
Yeah.
it's anything that you can add on after the fact, please go right ahead. You're more than welcome to have them apply for Lending USA.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Elaine and Janine, thank you very much. Thank you to you two and Lending USA. You
Thank
can
you guys.
visit Okay, you can visit www.americanfuneraldirector.com and click on the webinar tab to sign up for future webinars. While you are on our site, please also check out the information on our Cremation Innovator Summit. It's a free virtual event May 4th and 5th, and our other upcoming events. Thank you so much for joining our webinar. Thank you again, Elaine and Janine, and be sure to keep an eye out for our follow-up email, which will include today's webinar recording. Have a great day, everybody.